A's President Dave Kaval has finally broken his Twitter silence. All it took was a scrap metal pile catching fire in the Ace Bay.
Breaking news. This large fire is burning in Oakland at Schnitzer Steel.
Hey, at least it wasn't a dumpster fire, right? Like the A's season, their Oakland Stadium plans, or even everything going on in Las Vegas. Anyways, Dave Kaval tweeted because Schnitzer Steel, which is located right next to Howard Terminal, has a fire. Air is potentially toxic. It's spreading throughout the East Bay. It's one of many instances in which this plant has caught fire in the past. Kaval and the A's had challenged Schnitzer Steel legally on environmental grounds. Schnitzer Steel, through the East Oakland Stadium Alliance, had also challenged the A's and Howard Terminal, also on environmental grounds, saying that a ballpark at that spot wasn't going to be good for the environment. Meanwhile, you see what's currently happening at Schnitzer Steel. I'll leave it at that. So what did Dave Kaval say? First, he tweeted, "Sad to see this continue. The Athletics continue to pursue legal action against Schnitzer Steel." He also retweeted another tweet saying, "Sad to see this. The Athletics have multiple lawsuits against Schnitzer Steel going back to 2020. Another retweet, "Sad to see that. The Athletics have multiple lawsuits against Schnitzer. We will continue to pursue them." He asked Michael Cobruno, one of the Port commissioners, "Will the Port join our lawsuits against Schnitzer? This city has already declined multiple times." Richard Hake correctly pointed out, according to recent court filings, the Athletics have paused much, if not all, its legal efforts in Oakland. That is correct, but Kaval says, not our lawsuits against Schnitzer. Mark Purdy retweeted my original post saying this is another reason, along with those street-level train tracks a block away, that Howard Terminal was such a bad ballpark idea. The Coliseum site isn't perfect, but in 55 seasons of A's baseball there, I recall nothing like this. Can you imagine if it happened during a game? Kaval said there are 25,000 people who live within a mile now. These fires should not be tolerated. That is why we have multiple lawsuits against Schnitzer. And lastly, Kaval retweeted new ballpark saying we had a recent trial victory that allows us to continue to pursue our DTSC suit we intend to pursue. So the A's, they have team offices in Jack London Square, right next to Howard Terminal. On the other side of Howard Terminal is Schnitzer Steel, where this fire is taking place. The A's intend to continue to pursue these lawsuits. People have tweeted me a bunch of times asking me, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? And honestly, I don't think it means a whole lot for the A's in Oakland. And the reason I say that is because if Kaval or John Fisher or the A's were actually trying to continue to build Howard Terminal, one, they wouldn't have fired their entire real estate team that was working on the project, for starters. Two, they wouldn't have been firmly in Las Vegas, not showing up anywhere out here. I don't think they're still convinced that they're trying to build Howard Terminal. I don't think this means any of that. I think all this means is that Dave Kaval really does not like the East Oakland Stadium Alliance and Schnitzer Steel. I think that's about it. At this point, he's waged a personal battle against them, as they have waged a battle against him, and it continues on, and this fire and the pollution is just a good way for him to needle at them. I think that's really all this means. I don't think it means any more than that. Because if you remember, Kaval's only local interview, the only thing he really gave as a substantial reason for why Howard Terminal isn't happening was timeline. Well, Schnitzer Steel and the East Oakland Stadium Alliance gummed up all of this in the courts with environmental lawsuits, EIR challenges, all of which are on pause at this point in time because the A's aren't actively trying to build Howard Terminal. They may be trying to keep Schnitzer Steel and the East Oakland Stadium Alliance unhappy, but they're not trying to build Howard Terminal. So, what does it mean? Honestly, I don't think it means a whole lot. If Kaval's willing to tweet, willing to speak up, willing to talk, I think now would be a good time for him to actually explain himself. You got to remember, Kaval is one of the most accessible presidents in Bay Area sports, responding to every tweet, every email, every post, every interview request. And then he went silent. What does that silence tell you? John Fisher doesn't speak. Now his mouthpiece doesn't speak. It really just tells you that they're not particularly proud of anything they're doing right now. Except for, I guess, this environmental lawsuit. Other than that, they're not speaking in Vegas, they're not speaking in Oakland, they're not speaking at all, they're not showing their faces at the Coliseum, they're not around. Why would you hide if you were proud of what you were doing? Right?